This week was a quiet one in the studio. I spent most of it filling up my sketchbook, testing some new pencils, and slowly turning one of the drawings into a painting. I just wanted to paint with no big intentions and finally try out my new Caran pencils. So if you would like some company, join me in this week's work. For my birthday, I treated myself to some new colored pencils, the Luminance 6901 by Caran. I don't normally use this medium, but lately I've been craving more time experimenting with different art supplies and expanding the capabilities of my hand, seeing if I can somehow replicate my own style through different techniques. I picked the shades I usually gravitate towards in my pieces, so instead of buying a full set, I chose each color individually. I tried them out in my Talents Art Creation sketchbook, which I've been slowly, but too slowly if you ask me, filling with oil pastel drawings. As many of you might already know if you watched my previous videos, I've been focusing on themes of ordinary domestic moments during the colder season. So a lot of my work has been portraying figures at rest, in each other's company, or in the company of cats. I used to love drawing with color pencils back when I was in art school, and then I discovered how quick paint could be, how fast you can achieve a result. This past week reminded me that colored pencils are for the moments when you want to slow down and not rush a piece. I worked in layers, using multiple shades, scattering color in different directions to give the image a sense of flow and movement. I really took my time understanding how they react on paper and how the shades behave when layered together. So far I'm happy with how vibrant the colors are. Since this was just a quick sketch, I still need to spend more time with them to discover what else they can do. One thing I noticed though is how quickly the tip wears down, which makes me slightly anxious because they're so beautiful and I almost don't want to see them disappear that fast. In my moleskin, I have the same sketch done with oil pastels just to better understand the shades I could later use in the acrylic version of the piece. I had to add some extra paper along the edge because I misjudged the size and it wasn't going to fit, but it actually turned into a nice way to experiment after what initially felt like a mistake. I currently have 3 sketchbooks I'm trying to fill, and I keep promising myself I'll commit to 1 page a day, but that day seems further and further away. I eventually turned this sketch into a painting using acrylics and oil pastels, my most loved and familiar mediums. Some of you might notice as well that the painting station has changed position again. I kid you not, I think I've rearranged it at least 30 times since I started painting in the living room. This time my excuse was that I wanted my chair closer to the wall because the desk kept getting in the way and forcing me to stretch my back and right arm in awkward ways. Then I wonder why I complain about shoulder and back pain. But on the other hand, I don't really mind changing things around. I actually think shifting positions can quite boost creativity. I feel more energized when I see the space from a different angle, and I like the feeling of a fresh new start. The painting itself is simply an image of tenderness shared in the ordinary by a couple. It's my everyday life with Adrian. We spend a lot of time together while I cook or watching a show, having breakfast at the kitchen table every morning. I like it, he likes it. There's just something very comforting about sharing even the quiet moments. Sometimes in the afternoon we sit at the table with tea, either doing crosswords or just talking about the day. Nothing dramatic, just being there with each other. After that, I jumped into another painting, done quite quickly actually, a view of the house from the outside, a small testimony of our time living here, since my work is really a collection of moments either lived or closely connected to my life. I thought it would be meaningful to document this too. This year marks my 4th year living here, and there are so many treasured moments attached to this place. That's one of the beautiful things about art. These works eventually become archives of who we once were. I've been a little obsessed with Munch lately. The inspiration for this painting comes from Eyes in the Eyes, where a couple is caught staring at each other in front of a tree and a house. When I looked at this painting for the first time, I felt like a strange, familiar sensation, and I wanted to translate that feeling into something of my own. So yeah, this week didn't come with a big theme or a deep reflection on a specific subject. It was just a mix of emotional and symbolic moments blended with quiet, ordinary studio time, which is honestly what this channel is becoming more and more about. So I hope you enjoyed this little catch-up of my week in the studio, and if nothing else, I kept you some company.